The pregnancy test slips from my trembling fingers, clattering against the marble bathroom floor of the Rivendale mansion. Two pink lines stare back at me like a cruel joke, impossible, yet undeniable. My hands shake as I pick it up, checking again, hoping I imagined it. But there it is, clear as daylight, pregnant. Me, the girl they all whispered about, the one the doctors said would never carry a child. The irony burns through my chest like acid. They sent me here as punishment, as entertainment for their twisted game. The barren girl married off to the most dangerous man in Rivendale, thinking it would be hilarious to watch him slowly realize what a useless wife he'd been given. My family laughed when they signed the papers. My sister Kelly smirked as she helped me pack my single suitcase. Even the priest seemed to be holding back laughter during the ceremony. But now, standing in this bathroom that costs more than my family's entire house, I'm carrying something impossible. A child. His child. The child everyone said I could never have. My reflection stares back from the mirror, pale and shocked. But there's something else there too. Something I haven't seen in years. Hope. Dangerous, terrifying hope that maybe, just maybe, everything is about to change. The sound of heavy footsteps in the hallway makes my heart race. He's coming. The footsteps stop outside the bathroom door with the deliberate precision that characterizes everything Victor does, and I quickly shove the pregnancy test into my pocket, the plastic still warm from my trembling hands. My heart hammers against my ribs like a caged bird desperate for escape. Each beat so loud I'm certain he can hear it through the heavy oak door that separates us. 3 soft knocks echo through the silence, each one making me jump as if they were gunshots. And I press my back harder against the cool marble wall, seeking some kind of anchor in a world that has suddenly tilted off its axis. His voice comes through the door, low and careful, that same tone he's used with me for the past 3 months since our wedding. Not the voice of a husband speaking to his wife, but the voice of a wary stranger navigating uncertain territory. Not cruel, because Victor has never been cruel to me, despite every warning I received about his nature, but not kind either in the way that lovers speak to each other in the romance novels I used to hide under my mattress. Just careful, measured, like I'm a stray cat that might bite or run away if he moves too quickly or speaks too loudly. Anna, are you well? You've been in there a long time. Even through the door, I can hear the slight concern in his voice, and it makes something in my chest twist painfully because I don't know how to interpret kindness from a man the world has taught me to fear. I close my eyes, trying to steady my breathing, trying to find some semblance of the composure that has gotten me through these months of careful politeness and measured distance. How do I tell him? How do I explain something that shouldn't be possible, something that contradicts everything the doctors told me, everything that formed the foundation of this marriage arrangement? The words stick in my throat like thorns, sharp and cutting, because speaking them aloud will make them real in a way that the plastic test in my pocket somehow doesn't. The doctors were clear when I was 16, their voices clinical and detached, as they delivered news that felt like a death sentence to a girl who had always dreamed of children, of a family that might love her unconditionally. Complications from the pneumonia that nearly killed me had damaged something essential inside me, something delicate and irreplaceable that meant I would never be a mother. The words had echoed in that sterile hospital room. Severe scarring of the fallopian tubes, irreversible damage. I'm sorry, but pregnancy will be impossible. My mother had cried, not for my loss, but for the shame of having a daughter who couldn't fulfill even the most basic expectation of womanhood. It's why my father agreed to this marriage so easily when Victor's people approached him about settling the debt. Why the negotiations went so smoothly despite the dangerous reputation of the man who would become my husband. Why would Victor Blackwood, the most feared man in 3 counties, Want a wife who couldn't give him heirs? It was the perfect punishment for both of us, a marriage designed to satisfy honor and debt while ensuring both parties remained miserable. Him, stuck with a useless wife who couldn't provide the children that men in his position needed to secure their legacy. Me, trapped with a monster who would eventually grow tired of my inadequacy. Except Victor isn't the monster they said he would be, and that realization has been almost as disorienting as the pregnancy test in my pocket. He's distant, yes, like a mountain peak shrouded in clouds that you can see, but never quite reach. Cold, certainly, in the way that winter mornings are cold. Sharp and clean and somehow beautiful despite the bite. But he's never raised his voice to me, never lifted a hand except to help me from carriages or guide me through crowded rooms. He's never forced himself on me the way I expected, the way my sister Kelly warned me he would, with graphic detail designed to terrify me into compliance. Instead, he treats me like a houseguest he's not sure he wants but tolerates anyway. Polite, respectful, maintaining careful boundaries that neither of us seems willing to cross. He asks about my day at dinner, listens when I talk about the books I'm reading, even bought me a greenhouse when he noticed how much time I spent tending the garden. Small kindnesses that feel monumental when you've been raised to expect nothing. Our marriage bed remains a pristine expanse of space between us, marked by careful good nights and careful good mornings, by the rustle of pages as he reads business, reports, and I lose myself in novels, by the sound of his breathing in the darkness that somehow makes me feel less alone than I've ever felt in my life. I'm fine, I call back, but my voice cracks on the words like ice breaking under pressure, betraying every emotion I'm trying to hide. Just give me a moment. The lie tastes bitter on my tongue because I am the furthest thing from fine that a person can be while still breathing. There's a pause that stretches like a held breath, and I can almost picture him standing there in the hallway, his dark eyes fixed on the door, weighing whether to press for more information or respect the privacy I've requested. Then his footsteps retreat down the hallway, measured and deliberate as always, the sound fading until I'm alone with the thundering of my heart and the impossible reality of what I've discovered. I sink against the bathroom door, my legs giving out like they're made of water instead of bone and muscle, sliding down until I'm sitting on the cold marble floor that costs more than my family's house. The test in my pocket seems to burn against my thigh, a tangible reminder that everything I thought I knew about my life, about my body, about this carefully constructed marriage of convenience, has just shattered like glass thrown against stone. How do you rebuild a life when all the fundamental assumptions turn out to be wrong? How do you tell a man who married you specifically because you couldn't have children that you're carrying his child? How do you explain a miracle to someone who deals in certainties and contracts and carefully negotiated terms? The questions swirl in my mind like a storm, and all I can do is sit on this expensive floor and try to figure out how to walk back into a world that has suddenly become unrecognizable. I find Victor in his study later that evening, sitting behind his massive desk with papers spread before him like a war council planning their next attack. The room smells of leather and expensive cologne, shadows dancing across his sharp features from the fireplace. He looks up when I enter, his dark eyes searching my face with that intense stare that always makes me feel like he can see straight through to my soul. "You look pale," he says, setting down his pen. "Are you feeling sick?" The irony makes me want to laugh, but I swallow it down. Morning sickness. Something I never thought I'd experience. Something that shouldn't be happening to me at all. "Victor, we need to talk." He leans back in his chair, and for a moment I see something flicker across his face. Concern? Fear? It's gone too quickly for me to be sure. "Sit," he says, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. But I can't sit. I need to move, to pace, to do something with the nervous energy crackling through my veins. I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen to the whole thing before you say anything. His eyebrows raise slightly, but he nods. I take a shaky breath and pull the pregnancy test from my pocket, setting it on the desk between us like evidence in a trial. His eyes drop to it, and I watch his entire body go still. When he looks back up at me, his expression is completely unreadable. The doctor said I couldn't have children. I begin, my voice barely above a whisper. That's why my father agreed to this marriage. That's why everyone thought it was so funny, sending the broken girl to the man who needs heirs. Victor picks up the test, studying it with the same intensity he gives his business documents. And yet, here we are, he says quietly. Here we are. The silence stretches between us like a bridge neither of us knows how to cross, heavy with unspoken words and the weight of everything that has just changed. I watch Victor's face with desperate intensity, searching for any sign of what he's thinking, what he's feeling beneath that carefully constructed mask he wears like armor. Anger? Disappointment? The same shock that's been coursing through me all day like electricity through my veins? But his expression remains as unreadable as stone carved by ancient hands, and that terrifies me more than shouting would, more than the violence I know he's capable of. The grandfather clock in the corner ticks with mechanical precision, each second feeling like an eternity as I wait for some reaction. Any reaction that might tell me whether the fragile peace we've built together is about to shatter. Say something, I whisper, my hands twisted together so tightly my knuckles are white as bone. The wedding ring Victor gave me. Simple gold. No fanfare. Cutting into my finger. Please, just say something. The plea hangs in the air between us like smoke, and I hate how small my voice sounds. How much like the frightened girl I used to be instead of the woman I've been trying to become. He sets the pregnancy test down carefully on his mahogany desk, like it might explode if handled roughly, like it's made of the most delicate glass instead of cheap plastic from the pharmacy. The small digital window still displays those life-changing words, pregnant 2 to 3 weeks, and I can't stop staring at it. Can't stop marveling at how something so small can turn an entire world upside down. When he looks at me again, there's something different in his dark eyes, something I can't quite name but that makes my breath catch in my throat like a fish hook. It's not anger. I know what Victor's anger looks like, have seen it directed at others who've crossed him. And it's not disgust or disappointment. It's something softer, more vulnerable, and somehow that frightens me even more than fury would. How long have you known? He asks, his voice carefully controlled but lacking its usual edge of command. There's something almost tentative about the question, as if he's afraid of the answer. A few hours. I took the test this morning when I couldn't stop being sick, when the smell of coffee made me run to the bathroom for the 3rd time this week. I swallow hard, my throat feeling like sandpaper, forcing myself to meet his gaze, even though every instinct screams at me to look away. Victor, I know this isn't what either of us expected. I know this marriage was supposed to be a business arrangement, a punishment for both of us in different ways. And now everything is complicated in ways neither of us planned for, and I don't know what you want me to do. He stands slowly, unfolding from his chair with that predatory grace that always makes me hyper-aware of how much space he takes up in a room, how his presence seems to shift the very air around him. But instead of the menace I expected, instead of the cold calculation I've seen him use on business associates who've disappointed him, there's something almost gentle in the way he approaches me. His footsteps are measured, deliberate, like he's giving me time to bolt if I want to, though we both know there's nowhere for me to run that he couldn't find me. What do you want to do? He asks, stopping just close enough that I can smell his cologne, something expensive and understated that probably costs more than my family spent on groceries in a month. Can see the tiny scar above his left eyebrow that he's never explained, though I suspect it has a violent story like most of his scars. The question catches me completely off guard, hitting me like a physical blow. In my family, women don't get asked what they want. We get told what's expected, what's practical, what serves everyone else's needs and convenience. We learn to make ourselves small, to want small things, to never expect that our desires might matter to anyone else. But here's this dangerous man, this stranger who became my husband in a ceremony neither of us wanted, asking me what I want, like my answer actually matters, like it might influence what happens next instead of being just a formality before he makes the real decisions. I want to keep it, I say, the words tumbling out before I can stop them, before I can second guess myself or try to figure out what he wants to hear first. I know that's probably not what you want to hear, and I know this complicates everything we've built here, everything we've agreed to, but I want this baby. I never thought I could have children. My mother always said I was too broken, too damaged, that no child deserved to be burdened with a mother like me. And now that I can't give that up. I won't give that up. The confession hangs between us like a challenge, and I brace myself for his response, for the cold practicality that will explain why this is impossible, why a child would be inconvenient for his business, why I'm being selfish and naive. Something shifts in Victor's expression, a crack appearing in that carefully maintained facade like ice beginning to thaw. He reaches out slowly, like he's approaching a wounded animal that might bolt at any sudden movement, and places his hand over mine. His skin is warm, calloused from handling weapons and violence, but his touch is surprisingly gentle for hands that I know have done terrible things, that have ended lives and broken bones and signed death warrants with the same elegant penmanship he uses for love letters. Then we keep it, he says simply, like it's the most obvious thing in the world, like there was never really any other option worth considering. We keep our child. Our child. The words hit me like lightning, not because they hurt, but because they don't. Because they sound right in a way that nothing in my life has sounded right for years. But Victor, you don't understand, I start, my voice cracking with the weight of old fears and older shame. My family sent me here because they thought I was useless, defective. They thought this marriage would be a joke, that you'd grow tired of a wife who couldn't give you what you needed, who couldn't be the perfect Mafia princess, and maybe... I trail off, unable to voice the darker possibilities, the quiet suggestions that accidents happen, that problems can be made to disappear. He's quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing gentle circles over my knuckles like he's memorizing the shape of my bones. When he speaks, his voice is softer than I've ever heard it, stripped of all its usual command and authority until he sounds almost young, almost vulnerable. Anna, do you know why I agreed to this marriage? I shake my head, confused by the question, by the sudden shift in his tone. Because I was told you were different, that you weren't like the other women who would see me as a prize to be won, or a bank account to be accessed, or a stepping stone to social status. I was told you were quiet, intelligent, and wouldn't expect things from me that I couldn't give. Love, romance, the fairy tale most women dream of. He pauses, his dark eyes searching mine with an intensity that makes me feel transparent, like he can see right through to my soul. I was told you were broken, like me, and maybe, I thought, two broken people could figure out how to be whole together. The admission hangs in the air between us, raw and honest in a way that makes my chest tight. I've never heard Victor speak about himself like this, never seen him show even a crack of vulnerability. It's like seeing behind a mask I didn't even realize he was wearing. Broken? I whisper, not sure I want to hear the answer, but needing to know anyway. He releases my hand and moves to the window, staring out at the gardens that stretch toward the woods beyond. In the lamplight, his profile looks like it was carved from marble, all sharp angles and shadowed hollows. I never expected to marry for love, Anna. In my world, marriages are business arrangements, strategic alliances, but I also never expected to marry at all. He turns back to me, and there's something vulnerable in his expression that makes my heart race. The women who are usually offered to men like me, they want the power, the money, the status. They see opportunity where they should see danger. But you, he pauses, studying my face. You were terrified of me from the moment we met. You still are sometimes. That told me you were smart enough to see what I really am. And what are you really? I ask, though I'm not sure I want the answer. A small smile tugs at the corner of his mouth, but there's no humor in it. A man who has done terrible things to survive in a terrible world. A man who never expected to have a family because men like me don't get to keep the things we love. The word love hits me like a lightning bolt, unexpected and electric. Victor, I know you didn't choose this, he continues, moving closer again. I know your family forced you into this marriage, used you as a bargaining chip in a game you didn't understand. But Anna, if you'll let me, if you'll trust me, I want to give you choices now. I want to give you everything. The weight of his words settles over me like a blanket, heavy with promise and possibility. I study his face, looking for lies, for manipulation, for the trap I've been expecting since the day I walked into this house. But all I see is sincerity, raw and unguarded in a way that makes me believe that maybe, just maybe, I'm not as alone as I thought. What does that mean? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. What does everything look like? Victor reaches into his desk drawer and pulls out a small velvet box that makes my heart stop. It means that 3 months ago I married a stranger in a business arrangement, but now I'd like to ask my wife if she'd consider becoming my partner. He opens the box to reveal a ring that takes my breath away. Not a wedding band, but something else entirely. A sapphire surrounded by diamonds that catch the firelight and throw it back in sparkles that dance across the ceiling. This was my grandmother's, he says, pulling the ring from the box. She gave it to my grandfather when she chose him over the safe marriage her family had arranged. It's not an engagement ring exactly. It's a choice ring, a symbol that says you're here because you want to be, not because you have to be. My hands are shaking as he takes my left hand in his, but I don't pull away. Anna Blackwood, will you choose this life with me? Will you choose to build something real from this arrangement we were both forced into? I look down at our joined hands, his so much larger than mine, scarred from whatever violence his world has demanded of him. Then I look up into his eyes, those dark depths that have watched me with careful distance for 3 months, and I see something I never expected to find there. Hope. The same dangerous, terrifying hope that's been growing in my chest since I saw those 2 pink lines. Yes, I whisper, then louder. Yes, I choose this. I choose you. I choose us. The ring slides onto my finger like it was made for me, the weight of it foreign but not uncomfortable. Victor's hands frame my face, his thumbs, brushing away tears I didn't realize were falling, and when he kisses me, it's nothing like the cold, perfunctory kiss we shared at our wedding. This kiss is warm and soft, and full of promise, tasting like possibility and hope, and everything I never dared to dream I could have. When we break apart, we're both breathing hard, and I can see my own wonder reflected in his eyes. There's something else, I say, my hand instinctively moving to my still flat stomach. About the baby. The doctor said it was impossible, but here we are. What if there are complications? What if something goes wrong? Victor's hand covers mine over my stomach, his palm warm through the fabric of my dress. Then we'll face it together, he says with the kind of certainty that makes me believe anything is possible. I have the best doctors money can buy, and if they're not good enough, I'll find better ones. Our child will have everything they need. Our child. The words still sound like magic, like something from a fairy tale I thought I was too old to believe in. I'm scared, I admit, the confession slipping out before I can stop it. I'm scared that this is too good to be true, that something will happen to ruin it. Victor pulls me closer until I'm standing between his knees and his arms are wrapped around me like a shield against the world. I'm scared too, he admits, his voice muffled against my hair. I've never had anything worth losing before. But Anna, fear doesn't have to mean retreat. Sometimes it means we fight harder for what matters. I close my eyes and let myself sink into his embrace, feeling safer than I have since I was a child. Outside, storm clouds are gathering over the mountains, but here in this room, with this man's arms around me and our impossible child growing inside me, I finally understand what home feels like. 6 months later, I stand in the same bathroom where this all began, but everything has changed. My reflection shows a woman I barely recognize, glowing with health and happiness, my hand resting on a belly that's finally starting to show the life growing inside. The morning sickness has passed, replaced by an energy and joy I never knew existed. But more than that, I'm no longer the frightened girl who was sent here as punishment. I'm Victor's wife by choice now, his partner in every sense of the word. The changes aren't just physical. Victor has kept his promise about giving me choices, involving me in decisions about the house, the business, our future. I've discovered I have a talent for numbers and organization, and he's started letting me help with the legitimate side of his enterprises. More importantly, he's started opening up about his world, explaining the complexities of his life without hiding the dark parts. The baby's moving, I call out as I feel the flutter of tiny kicks against my ribs. Victor appears in the doorway immediately, still wearing his business suit, but his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. His face lights up with the kind of joy I never thought a man like him was capable of showing. "Let me feel," he says, crossing to me in 3 quick strides. His hands settle on my belly with the reverence most people reserve for sacred things, and his eyes widen when he feels the movement. "Strong," he murmurs, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Just like their mother." The comment makes me laugh. Strong? I'm the girl who cried for 3 days when I found out about this marriage. "You're the woman who chose to stay when you could have run," he corrects, his arms wrapping around me from behind. "You're the woman who's giving me something I never thought I deserved. That takes more strength than you know." The sound of cars in the driveway interrupts our moment like a thunderclap in clear sky, the crunch of expensive tires on gravel carrying through the tall windows of Victor's study. Multiple engines, I realize with growing dread, not just one car, but several, which means this isn't a casual visit but something planned, orchestrated, designed to overwhelm. Victor's entire demeanor changes in an instant, his body tensing against mine like a coiled spring ready to snap. The transformation is startling and complete. One moment he's the gentle man who just promised to keep our child, and the next, he's something else. Entirely. I see his reflection in the mirror behind his desk shift from gentle husband to dangerous predator in the space of a heartbeat. His dark eyes going flat and cold, his jaw setting in that particular way that means someone is about to have a very bad day. The hand that was tenderly touching my face moves to the gun I know he keeps holstered beneath his jacket, a gesture so automatic I don't think he's even conscious of it. "Stay here," he says, his voice dropping to that tone I've heard him use on the phone when discussing business. Cold, commanding, brooking no argument. But I catch his arm before he can leave, my fingers wrapping around the expensive fabric of his sleeve like an anchor. "Who is it?" I ask, though I think I already know. Though my stomach is already dropping with a dread that has nothing to do with morning sickness and everything to do with the familiar pattern of chaos that seems to follow my family wherever they go. The only people who would make Victor react like this, who would cause his entire security system to shift into high alert mode, are the ones who sent me here in the first place. My family. The thought of them makes something cold and sick curl in my stomach, because I know they wouldn't come here without a reason, without some angle they're working, some way to profit from the situation. They never visit just to see how I'm doing. They've made it clear over the years that my well-being is of remarkably little interest to them unless it somehow serves their purposes. He hesitates for a moment, clearly debating how much to tell me, his dark eyes searching my face as if weighing my ability to handle whatever news he's about to deliver. I can see the calculation happening behind his eyes, the same careful assessment he makes before any business decision. But then his expression softens, and I realize he's chosen to trust me with the truth. Your father and sister, they've been requesting a meeting for weeks. Ever since... He pauses, his jaw tightening. Ever since word got out about your condition. I've been putting them off, but they've become increasingly insistent. My stomach drops, not from the baby this time, but from pure dread, the kind of bone-deep fear that comes from knowing exactly how my family operates, how they see opportunities in other people's happiness and find ways to monetize love itself. What do they want? I ask, though part of me already knows, though I can feel the familiar pattern of their greed and manipulation beginning to unfold like a well-rehearsed play. Victor's expression grows grim, and there's something almost protective in the way he steps closer to me, as if he can shield me from the truth through proximity. I think you know, he says gently, his hand cupping my cheek with a tenderness that still surprises me after months of marriage, his thumb tracing along my cheekbone like he's memorizing the shape of my face. Word has gotten out about the pregnancy. They want to renegotiate our arrangement now that the barren daughter has proven useful after all. The words hit like a physical slap, bringing back all the shame and hurt I thought I'd left behind when I walked through the doors of this house 6 months ago. I can practically hear my father's voice saying it, can picture the cold calculation in Kelly's eyes as she works out how to profit from my unexpected fertility. The barren daughter, the broken one, the disappointment who finally managed to do something right. But this time, instead of the familiar shrinking sensation, instead of the old urge to apologize for existing, I feel something else rise in my chest like a flame catching kindling. Anger. Pure, clean anger that burns away the shame and leaves something stronger in its place. They think they can come here and what? Claim credit? Demand something because I'm finally worth something to them? The words come out sharp and bitter, tasting of years of resentment and carefully swallowed insults. They think they can waltz in here and renegotiate a deal they were so eager to make when they thought they were getting rid of damaged goods? Victor's smile is sharp as a blade, dangerous and beautiful in equal measure, and there's something almost proud in his eyes as he watches me find my anger, find my strength. That's exactly what they think. They believe you're still the same frightened girl they sent away, that this house is just a prettier cage, that I'm just another man who owns you. His voice drops lower, more intimate, as he leans closer. But Anna, you're not the same woman they sent away 6 months ago. You're not their property anymore, not their problem to solve or their asset to trade. You don't have to face them as their rejected daughter, the family disappointment who finally got lucky. You can face them as my wife, the mother of my child, a woman with her own power and her own choices. He's right, and the realization hits me like lightning, illuminating corners of myself I'd forgotten existed. I'm not the same person anymore. I'm not the disappointment they shipped off to solve their debts and their problems. I'm Victor Blackwood's wife, carrying his heir, and that makes me dangerous in ways they never expected, never planned for. I have resources now. Protection, a name that carries weight in circles where my family are barely acknowledged. I want to see them, I say, straightening my shoulders and lifting my chin with a confidence I've never felt before, a strength I didn't know I possessed. I want to show them exactly how their joke turned out. I want them to see what their throwaway daughter has become. Victor's eyes blaze with pride and something that looks like fierce love. Are you sure? I can handle this myself. Send them away without you having to see them. The offer is tempting. Part of me wants to hide here in our sanctuary, to pretend my family doesn't exist anymore. But the stronger part, the part that's grown over these months of being valued and protected and loved, wants to face them head on. I'm sure. But Victor, I need you to promise me something. Anything? Whatever they offer, whatever they threaten, whatever games they try to play, don't make any deals with them. This child isn't a bargaining chip, and neither am I. Not anymore. His hands frame my face, his touch gentle but his expression fierce. Anna, I would burn this entire city down before I let anyone treat you like property again. You and our child are mine to protect now, and I don't negotiate with people who hurt what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should probably frighten me, but instead it makes me feel powerful, safe, loved in a way I never understood was possible. Then let's go show them what they lost when they threw me away, I say, taking his hand. We walk downstairs together, Victor's presence beside me like armor against whatever cruelty awaits. My father and Kelly are waiting in the formal sitting room, looking perfectly at home among the expensive furniture like they have every right to be here. But I notice how they both tense when Victor enters, how their confident smiles falter slightly when they see the way he moves, the way he commands the space around him. Anna, my father says, standing with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. You look well. Pregnancy suits you. The casual way he mentions it, like he didn't spend years telling me I was broken, makes my jaw clench. Father, Kelly. I keep my voice neutral, but I see Kelly's eyes narrow as she takes in my appearance. The expensive clothes, the jewelry, the confidence I wear like a shield. Sit down. Anna, Kelly says with the condescending tone she's used on me since we were children, her manicured fingers drumming impatiently against her designer purse. We need to discuss some changes to your arrangement. The formal sitting room feels smaller with their presence, the elegant furniture suddenly seeming like props in a theater where I was never meant to have a speaking role. I remain standing, Victor's hand warm and steady on my lower back, an anchor in the storm I can feel building. The afternoon light streaming through the tall windows catches the dust motes dancing in the air, and I wonder absurdly if this is what freedom looks like. Tiny particles floating wherever they choose, no longer bound to the earth. My arrangement is not up for discussion, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my own voice. My father's eyebrows raise in that familiar expression of disappointment mixed with surprise, as if I'm a pet who's suddenly learned to speak. Don't be difficult, Anna. The situation has changed. You're carrying valuable cargo now, and that changes things for all of us. Valuable cargo. The words hit me like a physical blow, but instead of the familiar shrinking sensation I used to feel under their judgment, something else rises in me. A fierce protectiveness that extends not just to the child growing inside me, but to the woman I've become. Before I can respond, Victor steps forward, and I feel the shift in the room's energy like the moment before lightning strikes. The temperature seems to drop 10 degrees, and even the shadows appear to lean away from him. Gentlemen, lady, I believe you've misunderstood something fundamental about this situation. His voice is silk over steel, each word carefully chosen and precisely delivered. My wife is not cargo. My child is not a commodity. And you are not negotiating partners. There's something almost predatory in his stillness, the way he holds himself with perfect control while radiating menace. Kelly laughs, the sound sharp and ugly, echoing off the high ceilings like breaking glass. Oh, please, Victor, we all know what this is. Anna was payment for a debt, nothing more. A transaction between men of business. Now that she's actually useful, now that she can produce something of value, we can discuss more favorable terms for everyone involved. The casual cruelty in her voice, the way she talks about me like I'm not even in the room, like I'm a piece of furniture to be appraised and relocated, brings back every painful memory of growing up as the disappointment daughter. The countless dinner conversations where they discussed my future as if I were absent, the way they would introduce me to their friends with that particular smile that said, "What can you do with damaged goods?" But this time, instead of that familiar feeling of shrinking into myself, instead of the old urge to apologize for taking up space, I feel myself grow stronger, more solid, more real. No, I say, the word cutting, through Kelly's laugh like a knife through silk. The single syllable hangs in the air between us, and I watch as their faces register genuine shock. This is not the Anna they remember, not the girl who used to flinch when they raised their voices, who would agree to anything to avoid conflict. There will be no renegotiation because there is nothing to negotiate. I'm not your property anymore. I stopped being your property the moment I chose to stay here, the moment I chose to build a life, instead of simply enduring one. My father's face flushes red, his carefully maintained composure beginning to crack around the edges. Chose? He scoffs, but there's uncertainty in his eyes now, as if he's looking at a stranger wearing his daughter's face. Anna, don't be naive. This man owns you now, just like we owned you before. That's how these arrangements work. Women like you don't get choices. They get assignments. The words are meant to cut, to reduce me back to the frightened girl they remember, but they bounce off the armor of self-worth that Victor and time have helped me build. Victor's hand tightens on my back, not possessively, but supportively, the way a partner steadies another partner before they step into battle. When he speaks, his voice is perfectly controlled, but there's steel beneath the silk. Actually, that's where you're wrong. Your daughter owns herself now. She owns property, has accounts in her own name, makes decisions about our household and our business. She is my partner, not my possession. The shock on their faces would be funny if this weren't so important, if the stakes weren't so high. They came here expecting to find the same broken girl they sent away like damaged goods to a clearance sale, ready to be traded and negotiated over like livestock at auction. Instead, they're facing a woman who has found her power, who has people willing to fight for her, who has learned that love is not about ownership but about choice. That's impossible, Kelly sputters, her perfect composure finally showing cracks. Anna doesn't know anything about business or money or making real decisions. She can barely manage her own. Actually, I interrupt, pulling out my phone with steady hands and opening the banking app. Victor insisted I download and learn to use. I know quite a lot now. Would you like to see the accounts Victor has established for me? Or perhaps the investments I've been managing for our household? Or maybe the salary I earn for my work with his legitimate businesses? The numbers on the screen make Kelly's face go white, then green, as if she's about to be sick. More money than our family has ever seen, all in my name, all under my control, all representing choices I made and work I performed. Victor's been teaching me about finance, about business, about contracts and law, and how to protect myself and my child's future. Something you never bothered to do because you never saw me as someone worth investing in. My father's composure finally shatters completely, his face turning an alarming shade of red. Anna, you're being ungrateful, selfish. We saved you from a life of spinsterhood, gave you a chance at a family when no decent man would have you. You sold me. I cut him off, my voice sharp as broken glass, as final as a door slamming shut. You sold me to pay your gambling debts and you laughed about it afterward. You called me broken, useless, a burden you were finally rid of. You told your friends at the club that at least I was finally good for something. Well, congratulations, Father. You were right about one thing. I am finally rid of you. Victor steps forward then, and both my father and Kelly instinctively step back as if he's a wolf, and they've suddenly remembered their sheep. I think this conversation is over. He says in a tone that makes it clear this isn't a suggestion or a request. It's a fact, inevitable as sunrise. My wife has made her position clear. You are no longer welcome in our home or our lives. Kelly's mask finally drops completely, revealing the desperate, grasping woman underneath. You can't do this to us. We're family. Blood. You owe us for raising you, for feeding you, for putting up with your moods and your problems all those years. I owe you nothing, I say, my hand moving protectively to my stomach, to the future growing there. But if you'd like a debt to consider, think about this. You threw away your daughter and grandchild for a few $1,000s and some cruel entertainment. You chose money over love, cruelty over kindness, ownership over family. That's a debt you'll live with forever, and it's one that no amount of money will ever be able to repay. As security escorts my father and Kelly from the house, their protests echoing down the hallway, I feel something settle in my chest that I've never experienced before. Peace, not just the absence of conflict, but the presence of belonging, of being exactly where I'm supposed to be, with exactly the people who value me. Victor pulls me into his arms as the front door closes, and I can feel the tension leaving his body now that the threat is gone. Are you all right? He asks, his hands gentle on my back. You were magnificent, but I know that couldn't have been easy. I look up at him, this dangerous man who has shown me nothing but tenderness, who has given me choices when the world tried to take them all away. I'm perfect, I say, and for the first time in my life, I mean it. We're perfect. His smile is soft and real, the one he saves just for me. Yes, we are. The baby chooses that moment to kick, strong enough that Victor feels it through my dress. His face lights up with wonder, the same expression he gets every time he feels our child move. Strong, he murmurs again, pressing his forehead to mine, just like their mother. Outside, storm clouds are finally breaking, sending rain against the windows in a rhythm that sounds like applause. Inside, Victor's arms are warm around me, his child growing safely inside me. And for the first time since I was sent here as punishment, I understand that sometimes the cruelest jokes turn into the most beautiful truths. They thought they were sending the broken girl to suffer with a monster. Instead, they gave the monster the one thing he needed to become human again, and they gave the broken girl the chance to discover she was never broken at all, just waiting for the right person to see her worth. As Victor leads me upstairs to rest, his hand never leaving mine, I think about the child we'll raise together, the life we'll build from the ashes of two damaged hearts. They sent me here as a joke, but I'm returning their cruelty with something they'll never understand. Love, real and fierce, and unshakable. The kind of love that transforms everything it touches, including the people brave enough to choose it.